Sills and Jake Watson here with Tapped In AZBJJL Stories. And we have our very first guest of the show, Professor Daniel DaSilva from Rogue Wave Jiu-jitsu, based out of Yuma, Arizona. Daniel, thank you so much for joining today. We are super excited to get to know you a little bit. And yeah, we're just pumped. Let's start off with a couple of questions for you. I know Rogue Wave is ranked #1 in the state for 2023 for your kids. So that's a really huge accomplishment. Big congratulations. So like, what's the secret? You're clearly doing something right. You know, we got to find out what's going on over there. So tell us a little bit about your journey into jiu-jitsu and as a professor. How long have you been teaching and how did you get started? What motivated you?
So kind of a funny story, a little bit of a long one. I moved to Arizona for the Marine Corps back in 2010. 2016 timeframe, I decided I was going to get out, finish college, and I actually want to start training jiu-jitsu again. I was a blue belt at that time. I trained a couple years on and off before. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, it was 2016. I was training here, a couple little local schools, and I just wasn't really happy with the way we were growing as a school there. They weren't kind of what I wanted. I went to some tournaments and AZBJJL back in 2016 as well. Started competing there and really saw a lot of just Ivy League schools that were just killing everybody. I mean, they were destroying the competition back then. There were so many of them too. There's still a lot, but there was a lot of just really good adult teams. So I was training, ended up leaving the gyms here, and I wanted to start my own. I was just a purple belt. And so I convinced Efren Velasquez, he's our head black belt, to start a school and that we'd all train under him and let's just do it as a hobby for adults. About 2017, the school got opened. Efren was teaching a small group of us, and somehow an advertisement went out that we were going to teach kids, which was never in the cards. We were just a hobbyist school. It was not a full-time job. So to my surprise, 7 kids showed up, and I did my best, but I won't lie, I wasn't passionate for it yet. It was not my thing. 6 months into it, we decided to take the kids up and try a competition. It was AZBJJL actually, and we got crushed. I won't even lie. I think we got like out of 82 teams, we got 78th. We won 2 matches, and I said right away, I was like, something's not right. We're not doing things right here. So about 4 months later, came back, tried another, same result. So head coach turned to me and said, you know what, maybe it's a hobby thing for us. We have full-time jobs. It's not what we're, made to do, coach kids and adults. So let's just scrap it. And I'm not that kind of guy. So long story short, I went to the drawing board and I just really started watching what these top schools were doing with their kids, AOJ, Ottos. And then I went to just BJJ Fanatics and I started watching videos and then studying tournaments. So after that, we changed up our regiment, made them roll a lot harder, more, and drill a lot of positional situations and play a lot more games. And after that, they just started, I won't lie, it felt really good. They were winning a lot more. And we just been enjoying it ever since about 2020. We won the Kids Cup back in 2020. And then from there, it just took off. They've just been winning and doing really good.
That is amazing. Oh my God. And we're going to get into the specifics about how you actually go about teaching your kids about, the rules and, competition and how to go about that. So that is just amazing to hear. I had no idea. So that's super cool. But yeah, we're going to dive in deeper into that later. But I think Jake has some questions for you regarding competition on that aspect of it.
Oh yeah, I got some questions, Daniel. First of all, it's good to hear from you. Good to see you. It's been a little bit. I haven't been at the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments in person in a little bit due to some stuff I have going on. But I want to know from you, because you and I actually have known each other for a while, and we started out we met each other through competition. So I want to know, can you share your individual competition experience, and do you still compete?
So do I still compete? Actually, I don't. I'll answer that first. I quit competing probably in 2021 when I decided to give everything I had to my kids. But when I competed, I did a lot as an adult purple belt. I would probably do one every 2 months. I had the most competitions as a purple belt by far. Brown belt, I did 5 competitions and that was it. Kind of weird. I count them all right. However, my personal experience with competition, that's kind of a rough one. It was really, for me as a purple belt, it was a real big struggle. Coming from a smaller town, gym hopping around, I thought because I could tap everybody here, I could tap everybody everywhere. So it was a really big humbling experience to go to Phoenix and get destroyed a couple times or whatnot. But I definitely learned a lot from it, met a lot of people. It opened my eyes to what the realm of jiu-jitsu was really, you know, and how hard people train and what they really give to it, you know. I enjoyed it, but to be honest, it just wasn't for me. In the end, I really enjoy watching, you know, 20, 30 kids put medals on their necks, not just me getting up there and devoting that time to myself. And since I run the school and work full time, it's kind of hard to just do both. You know, if it was just one thing, me running the school, be a little bit easier to compete, but I have to kind of take a choice there, kids or myself. So the kids came first on that.
Awesome, man. That's cool.
Do you think that everyone that does jiu-jitsu should compete at least once? Because that's a very common quote. So what do you think?
So a lot of people actually don't like my answer. I kind of say no in a lot of ways because I think some people, they don't really have that drive or want in them. They're not even competitive when it comes to a game of cards at home or a video game. They just really don't care, you know? Right. Running a school, you get to see a lot of adults. They just come in after work. They want to have like a workout that shows a purpose to something or where they're growing somewhere besides just lifting weights or running on a treadmill. So I don't know. To me, I'm kind of like, I think it's great if they want to, but if not, you know, power to you. You know, it's a martial art at the same time. And I love the sport side of competing, but there's a lot more to it, you know, and I think it's good that people just do jiu-jitsu in general. They don't have to compete, you know, necessarily.
And that's what you share with your students as well regarding that.
Yes, except my kids. I won't lie. I'm a little bit tougher on pushing them to compete.
That's fair.
We're in a tablet generation, so these kids need to get out and choke somebody, do something besides sit on the couch. So they need to get out there and compete. You know, I'm very old school on that. So
yes, I agree. Well, the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League has been the foremost leader in tournaments in Arizona ever since it's been around, essentially. How has your experience and your students' experience been since you have been leading them with the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League, and how long have you been supporting the organization?
So we've been supporting them at first since 2018, I believe. We did our first kids competition there, so it's been about 5 years, going on 6 now. Our experience with them has been pretty good. To be honest with you, one thing I really like about them is how they've grown so much. You know, we used to go to that small gymnasium, run 6 mats. You'd be there 2 days. It would be hot, stuffy, not fun, you know, and that was the best they could do. And now they're in this really nice venue. We got restaurants by us. You got Wi-Fi. You got everything, you know. So it's been really great. The kids love it. You know, it's local to the state, obviously. So they like going to Phoenix, competing, showing off their skills there. And they have really good referees. The other schools have been really respectful and everything. So it's just a really good community I think they brought together. Only thing is, you guys need to start tagging me more on your videos when we win. I know we're from Yuma, but we'll be up there.
I'm going to take the blame.
That's not me.
Like, I feel like we don't get
I love you all. I just gotta say.
Like, we get 1 or 2, but we're gonna change. We try to get everybody, I swear, but it's so hard.
You guys are good. I just have to say something. No one's perfect, right?
Do you see how clean the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League's Instagram has been lately? Man, they're making promo videos with like 1080p, 4K. I'm like, man, they got Vitor Freitas doing stuff as well. They're improving a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely like the more mats too. It helps the flow of the tournaments. That's been a really nice thing. It's not having the tournaments delayed or, you know, be there 12 hours for kids. It's very smooth. It runs well. So I really do like it. And there are IBJJF rules, which makes things easier.
Yes. All right. So, okay. I really love this question. Tell us about the first time you competed ever. Do you remember that experience at all? I know you have to think back to it because it's not always a good thing, but let us hear your story.
So my first competition was in 2016. I want to say we were looking at July, August timeframe. It was at the AZBJJL. I was a blue belt, just came back to jiu-jitsu. I did blue belt adult, medium heavy, had 4 matches, lost in the finals 2, and he's still, I believe he still trains. I see him at tournaments. Bobby Green, phenomenal competitor. I ended up getting ankle locked by him, but it was such a great experience for me, to be honest with you. meeting, like I said, meeting the competitors, really seeing what jiu-jitsu was. You know, when you're in a small town, you have such a narrow vision of what it really is. And when you go out to a tournament for the first time, you're just in wow, watching, you know, higher belts, everything. And it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I probably could have learned more because I was like, oh, this guy got lucky and tapped me. I'll be back next time and get everyone, you know. But it was just so phenomenal. It was really good. And it was my first medal I won in anything. So to be honest, I was overly excited.
Yeah. What was like your biggest takeaway from it?
Biggest takeaway. I needed to cut weight. I was too small for the division. I was being lazy. Stop sitting on the couch, I guess. Put some more effort into it, you know. When you go to 195 and you weigh in at like 188, you're like, stop being lazy, man. But, you know, the biggest takeaway is, what I could do to improve on. You always think of that. But I guess actually the best was the community of jiu-jitsu in Arizona. You know, I met a lot of people and really got to see how big it really was out there.
And you said your first time competed was as a blue belt?
Yeah.
Did you compete at all as a white belt? Wow.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, I
Nice.
didn't compete much as a white belt at all. I
Interesting.
didn't really do much besides show up to class late because I just like rolling, hated drilling. So I was that troublesome young youth at that time.
No judgment.
You were pulling the purple belt move at white belt. You were just showing up, skipping the warm up, man, since white belt days.
Oh yeah, I don't know why. I think it was my ADHD. I'm like, I can't sit there and listen. I just can't listen. Let's roll and try to smash people, you know. And I not the best attitude, but I'm just going to be honest. That's what it was, you know, young kid.
Okay, so you didn't compete until blue belt, but as a coach, you have to kind of monitor when students can compete, right? Or you at least want to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. This is an interesting question. What are your requirements as a coach for a student to compete for the first time in your school?
That's actually a really good question. Some people don't agree with it. Some do, whatever. I'm just very big on certain standards for it. One thing is I want kids to go out there because they're actually putting the effort into it too. Because I believe we're building a name as well. So I'm not just going to let somebody walks in 2 months, doesn't put the effort, just go out there, you know? So what I really do is I try to get the kids to come about 3 days a week. If they can, try to do 2 regular classes, a comp class. And then after about usually 4 to 6 months for like the white belts, you know, if we think they're ready, confident enough, we'll definitely tell the parents, hey, let's get them going, you know? Sometimes kids are kind of shy and recluse, and if they're not ready, you know, you can tell it could be a bad experience for them, you know. I'll have them wait a little bit longer, but generally I'd say it's 4 to 6 months, and if they're training about 3 days a week.
Wow, awesome. That's a succinct answer.
So you do offer competition classes. So what do you actually do to prepare your students for competition? What does like a typical training week look like?
So that's a good question too. So we break our kids up into multiple age groups, or for comp, just because our younger ones are kind of smaller, we have 2 groups. We have a 6 through 10 and about 11 through 14-year-olds that'll come in. They have regular classes, 2 each during the week, and then we offer 2 more comps when we're getting ready for it. They're an hour a day. It's 20 minutes of rolling, 20 minutes of live drilling, and then we'll do 1 technique. I'm really big on just teaching about 1 technique. Huge on teaching arm drags to kids. So that's one thing they'll always see each time, every month they get that review. It doesn't matter. But if Hodger Gracie's one of the best in the world off arm drags, you know, we're not going to run away from it, right? So, and then typically we have 1 big meet where I get them all together on the weekends for an hour and a half on a Saturday morning. And that's kind of our grind fest. There's a lot of situational sparring and positional work there. And then we just play a lot of games with them. You know, I set them up in certain positions and they have a goal they have to meet, and the kid on top has a goal they have to meet. And we just keep it fun like that. You know, I'm not really big on 100 techniques or anything super fancy. It's a lot of basics, but we just add rules to every situation to make it harder for them or more challenging so they can progress.
Awesome. Love that.
Wow. So you're talking about task-based games.
Yes.
In a way. Okay, so you've seen a lot of like Kit Dale talk about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and Paul Schreiner. I'm a huge Paul Schreiner guy, and I brought him out just to talk to him. Actually, I love the seminar I taught, but I paid him for a private so I could talk to him, and it helped tremendously learning these task-based games.
That's fantastic. And you know what? They've really been revolutionizing the way that people perceive improvement in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's very, very interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, it was really shocking that that's when he told me how he ran most of his class. He goes, I teach very little technique. It's mostly ran through task-based games. And he goes, you're just going to adjust how you want them to do things by the rules to produce a certain outcome. And once I kind of figured it out, took me a little bit, it changed. I mean, I was seeing kids at 7 years old that never played De La Riva able to hit sweeps, able to come up for things, single legs, whatnot. And a lot of it was just through the task-based games. It was really never through certain techniques or anything.
That is so interesting. And as a coach, strategizing stuff like that, and you mentioned rules a little bit. Now, the AZBJJL, they use the IBJJF rules, the number one rule set in all of jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, it's pretty much the
governing
used. It's a governing body of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You talk with your students with the task-based games and you develop their games that way. Do you talk to your students about the particular rules? Because depending on the tournament you're in, I mean, you go to Jiu-Jitsu World League, it's a completely different rule set than the AZBJJL, right? So do you talk to your students about rules at all?
So that's actually kind of a funny question. Not too much. They understand, you know, to hold position because I'm huge on, you know, how you get points, you pass guard, you know, getting to mount, getting to back, sweep, you got to come up, all those things. They understand those through how we finish each drill and whatnot. But I actually don't overly grill them on points rules, because a lot of times I notice they get too caught up in it. I keep them, everything we do is based off IBJJF. If they do certain things that are illegal, we correct it. We'll say something, but rarely it happens. And when we go to the actually like JJ World League, we don't really have problems with their new rules, you know, I shouldn't say new, just modified rule base, because we've been in the IBJJF rules, and everywhere you go, anything in that's going to be legal. You know what I mean? So I've been pretty lucky that we haven't had to get too much into the rules with the kids yet. But it's hard to explain to a 6-year-old, you know what I mean, what reaping is or whatnot, you know. So really, they just kind of understand how the point system works and basic where you can't grab and, you know, things like that. And we never really had issues, you know. They never been penalized or DQ'd or anything like that.
Okay.
Very interesting. How do you guide your students regarding weight classes in competition and weight cutting in general?
So I'm all for if a kid has to cut a couple pounds to make a weight division they want to go to, you know what I mean? However, when we say cutting weight, you know, you think of traditional MMA fighters sweating it out with a bag on, not eating and all this stuff. We don't encourage them to do anything like that. More or less, I'll tell the parents, hey, Johnny wants to compete at, you know, 60 pounds. He's at 62 right now. You're a month out. Let's cut out the snacks, the junk food, you know, late night eating, things like that. And let's see where he gets. And then we'll, you know, we have time to change the weight. And generally that's a usually easy thing to talk to a parent and get worked out. However, if someone's 8 pounds over, 5 pounds over, it's not realistic for most kids to cut that weight through even just not eating this or that, you know. So we don't really push them unless it's a couple pounds. And if they can't do it by cutting back, then they're going to be bumped up. That's just what it is.
Right.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger and I was competing, that was something that, you know, it was just normal back then. No one ever even told us. We just watched the UFC fighters do it. And then we would cut a whole bunch of weight at 14, 15 years old. And no one ever batted an eye. But then we came to find out later, it's not cool. You should not do that. Kids need to eat. Now, we've talked about diet. We've talked about coaching strategy. We've talked about rules. But the one thing that we always have to think about is the mental, right? And so I want to hear your perspective first as a competitor, but also as a coach. How do you deal with that internal battle? Is there any like things that you do to kind of hone in your psyche before a tournament?
Really, to be honest with you, I kind of go into every tournament just kind of expecting nothing. I expect it to just flow. The tournament's going to take place. We're going to do however we do. So I don't really get too nervous for that. But when the kids go up and they're competing, yeah, I get really nervous, you know, because of course you want them to read your mind and
of course do
everything you're thinking. So during those moments, yeah, I'll get pretty amped up. But end of the day, I've just done it so much now, it kind of doesn't bother me. I don't really have any kind of rituals I do or anything like that, you know. The only thing I really focus on, a lot of people probably laugh, is we have some 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, and usually the youngest kid, I say how they do is going to determine the mood for the rest of the day. So once one of our little kids goes out there and gets that gold medal in that first bracket, I'm like, we're done. We got it made, you know. And it seems weird. It almost stays every time. That's how it's been. You know, if they get killed, I'm like, ooh, rougher day. We're going to get second or third as a team. We're not getting the gold. But really, that's kind of what I base it off of.
That's when you know you have a good kids program, by the way, is when you say, ooh, rougher day. We only got second or third out of every team in Arizona. I actually want to, last question. Do you talk with students that you have about being mentally prepared? Because you have your own way of dealing with it, but is there a way that you coach your students through it?
Yes, actually. So that's a really good question. A lot of people laugh at this one too. But I make my 5, 6-year, any of the little kids that are going to compete in those comp groups, for a long time, I'd make them constantly before every roll, before they talk to each other, they would go up, shake each other's hand and say, hi, my name is, and so it'd be, hi, I'm Daniel DaSilva, and I'm the next world champion. and look through that person, look beyond everything, look to your future there. And they just constantly, and it sounds like an arrogance thing, but it's actually more of a confidence thing that, you know, and they would walk around to each other and we wouldn't tell them, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm the next world champion. But it builds them up because they're thinking about competing from right then and there. You know what I mean? And now they're used to talking to someone they don't know as well, which is good, you know? And then from there, we just kind of get them used to knowing that everyone's going to be yelling when they're competing. That's the biggest thing I think is hard for little kids. You know, they're out there and it sounds like an auction house. They don't know who's yelling at who. They don't really, you know what I mean? Think about it. It's like it's probably like, you know, being in a wash or drying machine. You know, you get tossed around, you don't know what's going on. That's how it is for them. They're rolling around, all this noise. So we just make them confident not to be worried about the noise, know it's going to be there and that they can do it, you know. And once they have that, I've noticed very rarely do we have kids, you know, that can't get out there, that freeze up. You know, they're pretty confident and ready to go.
That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. What is one piece of advice you would give somebody that is just about to compete? They don't know anything about it. What is one good piece of advice you would give?
One good piece of advice. You know what? And this kind of sounds like a weird philosophy too. I'm very big on it's all for today. You know, if you go out there and you win today, everyone's going to be clapping your hand. Great job, buddy. High fives. You're the hero for that day. That's what I always say. When you win that gold medal, you are a hero for a day. You know, little kids, if they know who Bouchesh is, they're probably walking out there thinking they're Bouchesh and winning the world title.
Pumps me up.
You know, right? Even as an adult, you are. But even as great as that moment is, it's really you're a hero for a day because no one cares tomorrow. No one cares when the next AZBJJL comes along or 2026 World Championship's going to come along. They're not going to really be too worried about who won and lost back in 2012, right? So I tell them it's the greatest thing you can do because at the end of the day, it's a reset button, you know? No one's really going to be disappointed or mad at you or overly proud of you from that one day, you know? But the moment, living in that moment's great, you know? But if you lose, hey, we need to learn to lose too. And it's good just to put yourself out there, you know? It's actually a confidence builder to get in front of crowds of people and do something, you know? So in all aspects, you can win from it.
Solid. Awesome. Daniel, that is all we have for you. You gave us some awesome advice and it was so amazing getting to know you. So thank you so much for your time. Do you have an Instagram, Facebook that you'd like to share with everybody? Where can people find you?
I'm really bad at social media, but we have Rogue Wave BJJ on Instagram and we have one on Facebook. Please follow us. You know, I'd love to meet any schools here, cross train with them, anything like that.
Awesome.
All right.
That is all we have. Thank you so much for your time again. And thanks for watching, guys.